Well, welcome back to another Q&A. I am Canadian immigration lawyer Mark Holthe, and I'll be honest, I'm sorry I'm running a little bit late today. Some of you are probably wondering if I was even going to go live. Yeah, I had a pretty rough night last night, and I was just informed that one of my good friends for years and years had passed away, and it was hard. As you start to get older, and I'll be 50 years old this year, you start to see friends around you that pass on to the other side, and it never gets easy. And this friend of mine had suffered from MS for years, and I would go over and visit him in his home. He was pretty much bedridden for at least the last 15. Every once in a while he'd get out, but just he was an unbelievable example to me of just perseverance, faith, patience. Oh my goodness, patience, the patience of Job, as we say. And it doesn't matter how, yeah, how often you see it happen. Ever since when my dad passed away when I was young, it's been tough. So I apologize if I'm not quite on my A game today, but I know how important these Q&As are to all of you. And let's face it, they're important to me. They're important to my practice, my law firm. They're important for promoting my DIY courses, because really you guys don't even know about them. Like the Express Entry one I'm starting on Monday, actually Tuesday. It's going to be Tuesday start because February the 14th is the day I guard to spend with my wife for Valentine's Day. But we're starting on the 15th for that. And the spousal sponsorship course is going to be relaunched again in March. And the first one was awesome. But notwithstanding all of that, all those things are, they rank so far down on the scale compared to the precious nature of life and how valuable life is. And I think for me, my faith is what sustains me. And in a world that basically cancels anyone who has any religious beliefs or belief in God or anything like that, I hold firm to my faith, and I believe in that there is a place after this, and that we're not all here just to get up in the morning, throw our clothes on, go to work, grind it out for our daily pay, and then go home, go to bed, and do it all over again. That is not existence. And I have a firm belief that there is so much more after this, and that I will see see my friend again. All right. Sorry about that. Sometimes I get a little too personal in these, but all right, let's move forward and let's acknowledge a couple things that are happening. We're waiting, right? The annual levels plans, February the 13th is basically the deadline. So we should be seeing, if we don't see it, like even literally today, we should start to see what the government has planned for immigration. And if you guys remember, I had indicated in my call with Minister Fraser, my Teams meeting or Zoom meeting, whatever it was, that the intention is to increase those levels and not to slow down. And yes, the quota is so full that they technically have enough to meet the quota for this year, but that's not how immigration works. The quota is designed to be there to ensure that we're meeting our levels plans, but it's not like they're going to turn the tap right off for you guys. It's not going to happen. But obviously we know that there's many of you that are running out of time on your work permits. And Alicia and Chanel and myself and Susan have been having many consultations with you guys that are running out of time. And there are options out there depending upon your circumstances. But trust me, they have to be, in some cases, very, very creative. Whether it's the global talent stream, whether it's considering a significant benefit work permit, whether it's encouraging and showing your employer that it's really not that difficult to do an LMIA. And that's part of the reason I created my LMIA course, was to be, for you to provide it to your employer and say, hey, here, take this course of Mark's, watch these videos. It'll explain how it works, and you can support my work permit to continue. So there are options out there. Some of them are not great. Some of you may reach the stage where I can't hold out any longer and I can't become illegal in Canada. And so you make the decision to return home. But that is far better than staying in Canada illegally and falling out of status and being out of status for months. And I've had consultations with people like that. So there's a multifaceted array of things that can be considered, but really the only way it can happen is through a consultation. And that's why in the link below, we've got the consult link for you to book and to schedule a consult. And usually in that 25 minutes, we can give you a very clear idea of what the options are. And without knowledge, you can't make decisions. And sometimes the options that are spread all over the internet and your WhatsApp groups and your Facebook groups and forums, they're very limited in scope because people don't have a very broad breadth of understanding about the International Mobility Program or about the various strategies used. But I'll put one caveat out there, and I just did a video, an immigration talk with Officio, which some of you who subscribe to Officio, if you're immigration consultants and use that as your case management software, the immigration talk I gave yesterday, I warned people about filing frivolous work permit applications that don't have any eligibility for any program, and you're just filing it to buy time. There are things that you can do to not put yourself in a position where you filed a frivolous one and then you get a hard refusal. And I call it a hard refusal because an officer says, seriously, this person had no pathway to permanent residence, or sorry, this person was filing this work permit, but they're not eligible for anything. And they haven't asked to be considered for any particular work permit program. And they're just trying to extend their stay at all costs. I'm going to put some notes in the system that say this person, filed this application and it doesn't look like they were doing it for any other purpose than extending. Officers do those things. People don't understand. So please second guess whether you're going to do that. Now, with that being said, we've just finished a submission. I'm going to go through it and I'm going to create a separate video, not in this one because I don't want to take up a lot of time. I want to answer your questions today. But we, as the Canadian Bar Association, we provided 2 submissions. We're just wrapping those up. The first one is on re-upping the 18-month postgrad. We definitely want that to happen. I think it's the easiest, simplest solution to save many of you who are falling out of status to at least buy time, right? Then the second is a CEC Plus option that we're promoting. That is, it incorporates elements of the existing Canadian Experience class and something that can be filed through the PR portal that specifically targets those who are falling out of status, who are stuck in this vortex of wondering, even if they do return to the draws, am I going to rank high enough before my status expires? So those are the things that we're working on in the background. And I want you guys to understand, how much do you think that I get paid and as being an executive officer within the National Canadian Bar Association's immigration section? So I'll show you guys this. This right here means an absolute ton to me. I don't know if you can see this, but it is right here. This is my national chair 2020 to 2021 with the immigration. The immigration section of the Canadian Bar Association. And how much do you guys think that I get paid? Comment below. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious to see how much you guys think I get paid to do this. How much the lawyers get paid to put hours into putting these submissions together, developing these working groups. I've been on the national executive since 2017 when I was secretary, and then vice chair, and then chair, and now immediate past chair. There's the answers. Thank you guys. I know you guys knew this, right? Like this is zero. Not money do I get paid. But I didn't become a lawyer to just line my pockets with money. I became an immigration lawyer to make a difference in the world. And this is one of the ways that I do it. And you guys are all correct. It's all volunteer. And with especially over the last stretch through the worst time in immigration history, through this pandemic, the load for the table officers has been absolutely off the charts. It has been so busy. But notwithstanding that, we do this because we have a passion. Heck, I wouldn't have become an immigration lawyer. I would have stayed in the large national firm and did international M&A work, mergers and acquisitions. I would have been making boatloads more money. And I had the opportunities. I could have been a tax lawyer at that national firm. I could have done commercial litigation. All of those would have been paying exceptionally more than I'm getting paid right now. But I did not get into this for money. And sometimes people think, that's the only motivating factor. But for us, especially members of the Canadian Bar Association that are on the executive, that are serving, volunteering, we do it because we want to make a difference. And so the working group to the minister, we put our heads together. We thought about all of our, the possibilities. We thought about our clients. And after all was said and done, we put together these submissions that are now being vetted by the CBA before they get sent to the minister. And we're hoping that it will play a role. We're hoping that it will help you guys. And that's what we're doing in the background. And that's the privilege that I have, being a part of this, being involved with this, feeling like I'm making a difference in the world. Do I want to make money? Do I want to feed my family? Do I want to take care of my elderly mother? 100%. Do I want to be there? I'm sorry, guys. I did not intend for this. My apologies. Do I want to be there to support my friend's family and anyone that's suffering? Yes, absolutely, I do. And you can't live life without money. And so do I want you to go over and subscribe to my courses? Absolutely, I do. Do I want you to retain our firm to hire us to help you? Absolutely, I do. And this is part of why I do this. So, and I apologize, this is very unprofessional here. It's hard when your emotions are kind of on the sleeve and you're trying to do a live stream. I guess this is why very few people do this as a live. Anyways, okay, let me try to get recomposed here for a second. Okay, I'm back. All right, so basically, and I see I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but I'm going to make this a little bit larger so that you guys can see it a little bit better here. Bear with me. I'm going to back this up just a wee bit here. Okay. So basically what I was saying is with the Canadian Bar Association, we're proposing solutions. The minister asked us to provide some feedback on some programs or changes that the government could institute to make more pathways for post-grad holders and what to do with this situation with them running out of time and with the CEC draws and the regular express entry draws being held in abeyance. So that's what we put our heads together and very quickly, very, very quickly, like we're talking within a few days, dropped what we were doing. And big shout out to those who were pen holders on those submissions who put so much time and effort in. But anyways, that's what we were providing to the minister to try to help resolve this issue. But yeah, so then I got sidetracked on why I do this. But all of that is done to try to make things better for all of you. And we know you're suffering. We know the problems that you guys face. We know the headaches and the frustrations and the angst that you're going through. We know when you feel like your dream of being, a permanent resident of Canada is slipping through your fingers, where you've spent, in all honesty, probably over $100,000 to get through your education and travel and settling here in Canada, hope for a better life. And we take that and we use that experience working with you to enhance and infuse life into our submissions. And so I want you to understand what we're doing. And on such it's so frequent. If you saw how many working groups we had working on all aspects of immigration things, right from the asylum portfolio to spousals and that's part of another reason why I created the spousal sponsorship course. So many of you listed your spouses as non-accompanying, and I'll just flip the screen over. So many of you list your spouses as non-accompanying to become a permanent resident, and if you click on the link below, you can see on the 15th through the 19th, which Saturday morning I'm even going to do a session. I find that might be easier for some people, but this express entry course, you can register right now for it. And the course, March 21st is when we're looking at doing the next spousal sponsorship. But if you choose to get in and you want access to all of the material right now before the masterclass, you can do that easily. We've got the LMIA course for high wage positions that we've created. And, I just had another person, some more people subscribe to that just recently. And so all of these are designed to give you guys alternatives. And absolutely, in every case, if you run into a situation where you're just not sure what to do, that's why we have the ability for you to come and connect and book a consult. So I do the very best I can to answer as many questions to try to teach and instruct here. But at the end of the day, sometimes the only way I can really help you is through a consultation. And yes, we charge for it. It's interesting. The other day, I got an email from someone that I hadn't got an email for in a very, like an email of this type in a very long period of time. And sometimes, every so often, there's a disconnect between the person and the lawyer. And for whatever reason, this person felt like they didn't receive the value they were looking for in that consult. And I'm not sure if they watched the video here. I know they were referred by someone else, but I sent an email back to them immediately saying, look, how can I help you? What did you not get answered in that time? And that's the extent to which we care about the people who book consults with us. So, all right. So there we go, you guys. So there it is. Let's go back and just do a few greetings. And I'm so sorry to start on such a somber note, but I'll be honest. You can see I'm struggling here. It's really hard for me. And today's going to be a busy day. Obviously I've got a ton of things going on, but we also have, and I'm just going to flip back here one more time to the YouTube channel. You'll see right here this afternoon at 3 p.m. anyone that has tech experience, or, you're, you fit into any one of those 2173, 75, software developer, any of those occupations within the tech industry. Alberta, the AINP, has launched their new tech pathway, which many of you know. Well, last week I had the opportunity to catch up with the two head program, basically the acting director of the AINP and another one of their head officials over the various pilot programs, just to talk about the tech pilot, to talk about what's happening with the program, what they're seeing in terms of trends. But I can tell you, you definitely want to get over here and make sure that you watch this, and it'll be there as a recording. You can watch it on LinkedIn. You can watch it on Facebook. It's going to be broadcast just like this everywhere. But please go here and connect here. It'll be live in 4 hours at 3 p.m. And Alicia is joining me, and we are going to talk about this program in depth. We're going to talk about how it helps employers. And yes, it's an Alberta-based program, but the Alberta government is pushing really hard to expand its tech industry. And Amazon just invested billions into coming into the province of Alberta. And there's going to be some significant need for people that have those skills. So if you're on a postgrad work permit working for someone in another province and it's in the tech industry, this is something that you guys want to absolutely consider. And I'm sure you've probably already looked at it, but we're going to go in depth. We're going to have a Q&A. And it's going to be as much for the employers in Alberta as it is for the individuals all across the country that are looking for opportunities. And like most of the programs with the AINP, if you have a postgrad work permit and you studied outside, there isn't a real pathway into Alberta. But in this case, if you're on a postgrad work permit and and that employer in Alberta offers you a job and you can slide over, this is a amazing program that you're going to want to check out. And I think truly it's a game changer. Now, with all of that, the Minister of Employment and Immigration, Minister Tyler Shandro, he came to our Canadian Bar Association section meeting. It's all a blur. I think it was yesterday. And I had the privilege of introducing him and hosting kind of a live webinar Q&A with him for the Canadian Bar Association in Alberta. And Minister Shandro was a law school classmate, and so he's now taken over this portfolio, and he's learning the ropes, and we're all really excited about the direction things are going for the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program. But there's been some crazy things within even the OINP, and I'm just going to pull up one thing I want to show you guys. And some of you, I can tell you got an amazing surprise. I know, because people have already booked consults and retained me to help them with this. But let's slide over here to the other source of goodness for tech. And you can see here, I'm just going to see if I can adjust this. Looks like I've got just a little bit cut off here. Oh, let's see here. Let's try this again. Bear with me, you guys. Sometimes I have to adjust on the fly here. I'm just going to make a little bit more room there. There we go. Okay, you can see here, January, these last draws. So February the 8th, there was the targeted tech draw once again. And you can see there was that video I did, 463 to 467. It did not change, okay? And that was literally just yesterday. And then we've got the January 12th back here, another targeted draw with priority occupation, so not just tech. That one is 464 and 467. And then one that I think most of us were really quite surprised with. Yes, there was a French one as well, 206 notifications of interest issued. But this is the one that I've always been so impressed with. This one right here, skilled trades. And low scores of 381 to 461. They took a big wide swath and a massive 1,032. And I think this is so cool what the province of Ontario has done, because they've shown that trades, and I'm a farm kid, okay? I grew up on a farm. The trades are just as important as the tech. And that's the message that they're sending. And so there was a number of people, in fact, 1,000 people that got through. And I'll be honest, if you're in this category and you're watching this video, often individuals that are in the trades are not as sophisticated when it comes to filling out applications and knowing what to put in their applications as the tech people are. And I had a consult with someone, and it was so cool. They were a swine technician in Ontario. Basically, they were a specialized livestock worker with specialization working with hogs. And it brings back so many memories to me. But they received a notification of interest with under 400 points, and there was no pathway for them. They did not have their language test when the TR to PR pathway came out. They missed out on that, but they got this gift, this amazing gift. And the heartbreak, you guys, for this particular family is that they had 2 dependent children in the Philippines, and they received an ITA through one of the past CEC draws, but they declined it because they couldn't get the passports for the kids in time. They hadn't anticipated that it would happen so quick. So they thought, well, there's going to be another draw, right? I think they were probably drawn, in August or something of last year when the scores were below 400, but they couldn't get the passports. So they let the invitation to apply. They declined it, went back into the pool, and then no draws. So you can imagine when they got up in the morning and they saw right here that they were one of these lucky 1,032 people. So, they immediately contacted me, and I'm helping them to do both the filing, the response to the notification of interest, and submitting it. And they're one of many throughout the firm that is now going through this process. But I want to remind all of you, there is a very, very clear reason why if I jump back here, why I have this course. There is a very, very clear reason. And let me tell you one last story before we dive into the questions. The reason we have the Express Entry course, the reason I created it, was to help people to know and be able to understand exactly what they needed to do to get their application right the first time. There are very, very few second chances. People do not get a second chance to correct their reference letter. They do not get a second chance to ensure their police certificates are properly provided. They do not get a second chance to get an ITA. And when your scores are low, you guys have seen what happens. The consequences, the stakes are off the charts. So the Express Entry course was created to help people to navigate through, to rely on information that they can actually trust. And if you want to know about people out there that have nefarious purposes, who are going out of their way to try to ruin the knowledge and understanding you have of the process so that you'll fail so that they can get ahead, well, all you have to do is go over here and watch the video that I did right here called Fake News OINP. That relates directly to the OINP, what I'm talking about here. And you have to watch this because someone posted this fake email that allegedly came from me saying that the OINP was going to raise that slot score right here, that they said specifically that I had told them that they were going to raise the CRS score range up to, the high 480s or 490s. And so people shouldn't artificially try to deflate their scores to fit into this range. Well, it was a complete falsehood. It was complete fraud. And so just, in these groups that you think you can trust people. And when people are showing things like that, I saw the comments. They're like, well, if Mark said it, then, then maybe we should do something different. And that's the stuff that's out there. That's the stuff that's catching people. So please, please understand the reason that we do the courses, the reason that we are here is to give you information that you can trust. And that's why I go live. Sometimes I step on my feet. Sometimes I say things that make people unhappy. I take the whole issue with that I said with the Quebec-based schools, right? Like I said some things that I shouldn't have said. It's interesting that some of them are now closed and those students are suffering. But at the end of the day, I shouldn't have said what I did. Even though I have personal feelings about things, I have to be careful what I say in these lives. So, but I can tell you, no one can fault my desire to try to help. All right. So, So with all of this going on, individuals that have received these notifications of interest from the province of Ontario, you have to be exceptionally careful. And when people go through and they participate in this and they submit it and they submit their application, I'll give you one pro tip. Do not ever expect that if it was good enough, whatever you provided to the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program, the BC PNP, the Manitoba PNP, whatever it is, do not assume that whatever you provide to them, if it's good enough for them, it'll be good enough for IRCC. And that is the critical failure that I see for many, many people. They will rely on a letter that they've used for a long time. They'll submit it to the OINP. OINP will say, thank you very much. We accept your work history. They then send it to IRCC when they're uploading, after they get their ITA, they complete their EAPRs and they file their application with that same work reference letter, and it gets refused. And there are a number of ways it does. And the moment it gets refused, the opportunity is gone. When are they going to do another skilled trade stream with the OINP? This is exceptionally rare. With this large, with the score down to 3 in the 380s. It has been an exceptionally long period of time since they ever targeted people down here in this range, let alone specific to skilled trades. So because of that, I'm here as to offer a word of warning. Please be careful. The reason I create the course is to help you avoid the pitfalls. The reason that as a firm, we do the consults and we do our collaborative reviews, we don't represent you in the way that most firms do. We feel like we have a way of working with you that is exceptionally better than that traditional old school process where you never really talk to the consultant or the lawyer. You work with some low-level person who doesn't care about your application as much as you do. We leverage your desire to get things right, and we harness the very best of what we do to review collectively, collaboratively with you every single thing to make sure that when that application is ready and it's submitted, that there is nothing missing. So that's kind of where I'm at as I'm thinking about all these PNP draws, as I'm seeing the consults I get with people who make mistakes. Once the application is refused, often the PNP is expired. And when the PNP is expired, then you have no mechanism for going back. You've lost those 600 points. So it's heartbreaking. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. So Gutierrez says, good morning from Calgary. Always thankful, Mark, for helping us last year. Tier to PR pathway. I will definitely give you a round of applause. You are very, very welcome. It's quite interesting when I think about how many people I've helped over the years. And so often I don't remember everybody. And so it means so much when you come back and you talk to me and you let me know that you are now a permanent resident because of the TR to PR pathway course, or because of a whole host of other things. Maybe you booked a consult only. Maybe you hired us for the collaborative review. And I absolutely love it. It's what gets me up in the morning. Even when I'm really struggling like I am this morning, you guys actually help me to get through this and feel better. So thank you. Okay. Let's see here. I know we've got a bunch of questions here. We'll just hit some of the chats here first. I know a lot of people have been posting here. Okay. Reshmi says, for Quebec FSW, how to show work experience if salary was paid in cash. Does Quebec also only need reference letters which match jobs and responsibilities like FSW does? So one thing you have to understand is when it comes to any Quebec-based questions, now I'm in talks with a lawyer. I'm hoping he's going to join us and offer that. Reshmi, anything related to Quebec immigration, that's one area that I do not delve into. So I can't answer that question. But I have some wonderful colleagues and friends, and I've got no problems giving them a little promotion here that I refer all of my work to. And one of them is this wonderful lawyer here. I'm going to flip my screen over, Reshmi, right here. One is Lisa Middlemiss right here. She is on the national executive with me. She works tirelessly to help and support, and she works with the law firm of Gomberg Dolphin in Montreal. And so that Lisa is someone that I'd highly recommend that you reach out to. And yeah, she's exceptional, just a wonderful, wonderful lawyer. And then I'll flip back here, and the other person that some of you have already had the pleasure of seeing join me here is right here, Monsieur David Chalk right here. And so I highly, highly recommend that you consider connecting with one or either of these lawyers, and it's Chalk Immigration for David. So any questions related to immigration, I recommend that you connect with them. They're great lawyers that David here volunteers for ACADI, the Quebec Immigration Lawyer Association, and he has been involved in the same way that I am with the Canadian Bar Association and Lisa. So big shout out to them. I'm not sure if they're watching at all. Okay. And then Reshmi also says Ontario, French Stream, all within 463, 467 picked. That's a tough one to say. That's the range that they drew from, but excuse me, they don't open up a black box that that tells us all the things that they look for. But that was the range. And so whether they drew everyone within there, Reshmi, that I'm not sure. Okay, Samir says, my express entry PNP AOR is June 26th, 2021. My passport expires in August. Should I wait for IRCC instructions to get my passport renewed? No, Samir. You don't know how long it's going to take. Go ahead and get that renewed now. When it's renewed, you've got your AOR, which is great. Just upload a copy of it through the web form, and then immigration will have it, and they can accordingly update. Okay, Chaitanya, you are awesome, my friend. He says, you are the best, Mark. Can't thank you enough for your time and knowledge sharing. Ready to get along with your firm again for my parents' process. I know, Chaitanya. I'm really excited to help you apply for the visitor visas for your parents. Yeah, it's been a pleasure helping you in your journey to become a PR. And now with the super visa, we're just delighted to have you continue on as a client of the firm. And thanks so much for taking the time to connect in here. Man, Chaitanya, you've just been an awesome supporter. Thank you, my friend. Okay. Okay. So no NOI despite, let's see here. We've got chats popping up here fast. No NOI despite being qualified for French draw. Yeah. ECA latest 1+ year experience, French, CLB, sufficient funds, NOC, or CRS 464, no clue, help. Okay. So let's just flip back here and let's go here. And so there's a couple different things that we can look at. But if we look here at this, okay, so 463 to 467 is the range that they drew from within. And when it comes to the candidates, it's almost positive that there were a lot of candidates in that range and more than they wanted to draw. And so if you look at the French speaker and you look at how few they actually drew, there was only 206 notifications of interest issued. So they only took a certain number, and within each of the streams, they have their own internal quotas. And so they made a decision, we're gonna pull this many people who are in this range. And clearly, and you are a testament to it right now, if they didn't draw you and you had 464 CRS points, then for whatever reason, they looked at other factors. Now, I don't know if you're actually living in Ontario. I don't know if you're outside Canada or you're inside Canada. And that also can play a role in their decisions. One thing that was made very clear to me by the acting director of the AINP, and that call, Joshua Maldonado is his name. One of the things that he made very clear to me is how important people living in the province are when they're doing these notifications of interest and when they're ultimately nominating people. And I think you guys know that the province of Manitoba, they are the pioneers. They are the province who started all of this. And they have got so much data over the past 15, I guess almost 20 years that they've been doing their Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program. They know who's going to stay and who isn't. And so there's a heavy, heavy emphasis to people that have connection with those provinces. So it's entirely possible, I'm not sure if you're inside Canada or outside Canada, that could have been a factor. Job offers also play a role within the process. And obviously you say you've got 1 year experience. So I'm assuming that experience was probably Canadian experience, but it's hard to tell for certain what the other additional factors were that they looked at, but clearly they didn't draw everyone. Okay, let's see here. Okay. All right, so we have My Canada Vlogs. I'm going to have to check that out. I'm going to have to check out your YouTube channel. That sounds really cool. Okay, applied under TR to PR, got a work permit approved too. Recently, Ontario NOI under Tech Draw. Am I eligible to apply as I have one application in process? Absolutely you are. Now, the reality is the TR to PR is outside of Express Entry. If someone already had an Express Entry ITA granted, then the provinces can see that and then they won't proceed forward. Now, they'll ask questions and ultimately you never want to misrepresent anything, but there's no hard barrier to someone filing, responding to a notification of interest under the Tech Draw. Ultimately, the province reserves the right to not proceed. And, when it comes to multiple applications, the provinces always want to make sure that the individual is actually going to be remaining and living in the province. And they don't want to waste these precious notifications of interest if someone already has, a PR application, destined for approval. It's so hard because now you can't count on anything. And when I pursue every option that's available to me. If Ontario comes back and says, no, we're not going to accept it, well, then fine. They say you've already got an application in the queue, that's fine. But I pursue every single opportunity that I can. If I had filed through the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program and I was waiting for my nomination and a TR to PR pathway program came up, I would file through the TR to PR pathway, because the consequences of the timing of these applications, the volatility, how frequently they get rejected for the smallest reasons, all of that is why I pursue every option. Now, like I said, My Canada Vlogs, it is possible that they when you disclose, what you have in terms of applications, that they say, well, we're not going to issue you a nomination because you already have an application in the queue. But I personally do not hesitate to go forward and submit and give myself every possible chance, right? Every chance. Okay. I think we've got that. So, and remember, if you are doing your super chats, make sure that you try to put your question within the actual, and we've got another one here. Okay, let's try Ruthox here. Make sure you put the questions in so that I can see them. So Ruthox, she just did that. And then I had to search for your question. Okay, currently working remotely in Alberta. Cool. For a job that it was meant to be based in Ontario. I'm working remotely because of COVID. My question is, do I have to pay on Ontario provincial taxes? Ruthox, that I'm assuming that your employer is going to make those decisions for you. Yeah, they're the ones that will make those decisions. And ironically, I'm having those same discussions with my own accountant, with the lawyers that are joining my firm who work out of other provinces like Chanel. And so we're having that same discussion, but that is something definitely that you'll want to bring up with your employer. That's their responsibility, unless you are unless you're an independent contractor and you're responsible for remitting your own GST and things like that. So more often than not, it's the domicile of the employer. And just because you're living in Alberta, Ontario HST is more than Alberta's 5%, right? But more than likely, and this is something that, like I say, I'm not an excise tax, expert or lawyer or anything like that. It's something that you need to circle back with your employer to make sure that, things are being done properly. But it's their responsibility if you are an employee to deal with that. Okay, Peter asked this question. I am PR, but in love with someone who is HIV positive. Okay. He's taking medication to get it undetectable. Will I bring him here? Is it possible? So Peter, absolutely, you'll definitely want to book a consult. But generally speaking, HIV is, in many cases is not a barrier like it used to be. And so Canada has taken great strides when it comes to individuals that are HIV positive. But ultimately, the excessive demand level, that threshold, has been raised almost 3 times, and what it used to be. But in most cases, and I guess I don't want to overstate because I don't know all the circumstances, Peter. But in many cases, it is not a barrier. But if you'd like to book a consultation, we can dive into that a little bit deeper. Okay, let's see what else we have here. I got to make sure that I'm not. It's hard when you guys do this one here. I think I got this. Yeah, I think I answered your question there, so we're good. I have to do searching there's so many questions that are being posed. So, okay. Okay, let's see here. Make sure we haven't missed anyone. Okay, Shaw says, I believe you will answer my super chat question posted earlier. Shaw, I do not see it. So let's go in here and see. Yeah, I don't see any super chat from you, my friend. Okay, let's zip back down through here and we'll just pull this one off. I've had a bunch that have kind of popped in here and I'm just trying to stay on top of these first. Okay, Imran says, if I live in Mississauga for 2 years on a work permit and are likely to apply for PNPEE, will my visa office be Etobicoke or Ottawa or my country of origin, India? Imran, that's a really good question. One of the things that immigration has when we're doing all of this online filing is the ability to shift the processing of applications anywhere throughout the global network. Wherever one office has capacity, they have the ability to push files to that location. For example, just recently, I had a wonderful couple who I assisted with filing their spousal sponsorship application, and they lived in the US. The wife was Canadian, the husband was American, and their application was finalized through Mexico City. So it could literally be in any of those locations, Imran. It depends upon where the workload is, where they have capacity. When it comes to overseas offices, usually those applications get sent there if there's dependents that need to be dealt with. So they're usually dealt with in the local domestic offices if they're not in Canada. But it could be any of those locations. Another factor with any application, they get referred to local offices if there's questions of, if they have any significant questions of genuineness, if there's any allegations of fraud or things like that, or they have doubts about what you're saying in your application, they will often push those to local offices to deal the difficult issues to be dealt with by local officers. So it could be any one of those locations, Imran. Okay. And Alam here once again. Okay, let's see if I can find yours. The mute button's really good. Okay. Alam, I don't see any questions. Maybe you've posted it somewhere else. Maybe that's just a hello. Thank you, Alam. Donations are greatly received. All of this helps me to keep doing this. Okay, let's see here. So we got another question. You only need to enter previous applications for PR if you received an acknowledgement of receipt, a file number for your PR applications from IRCC. I do not play those games. So understand, if there's a question asked, it asks, have you filed? Now, ultimately, a profile is not an application. And even within Express Entry, it asks, have you submitted a previous application? I tend to go overboard in disclosing everything. I don't ever want, say, the OINP to, even though I filed a TR to PR pathway and I haven't received an acknowledgement of receipt yet, and I haven't received a file number, with the OINP or any program, if I've submitted something and they ask a question, have you filed an application? I answer yes, because I don't want to even touch on the possibility of them making a determination that there's some form of misrepresentation, right? So I just don't take those chances. And I'd recommend that you not do that either. Even if it's, you haven't technically received the AOR, I'm always very, very cautious. Okay. Alam says, CEC applicant 515, work permit expires August. What are my options? Should I wait or should I choose another route? This is one where I ring the bell, Alam, because there are obviously short answers is you need to book a consult so that we can canvas everything. Who's your employer? Where are you working currently? How many, like you've got 515 as a score. That's great. Are there any other factors? Do you have dependents? Do you have a spouse? Do you, are there other routes that we can take? How supportive is your employer of extending your work permit? All of those things we talk about in the consult. But as far as options, I kind of covered those at the beginning, some of the things that we talk about. The International Mobility Program sometimes has options that we can transition to. Employer supporting LMIAs. There are options that we can discuss, and sometimes the option is you just got to hang tight. There really isn't anything that's tangible or meaningful for you, and you just have to hang tight and keep our fingers crossed, like we all are, that Minister Fraser is going to make some big announcements. So stay tuned. Okay. Yeah. And once again, as I go over here and I just point you in this direction, click right here, speak to a lawyer, and it's really easy. You guys can go right now and schedule your own appointment right this very minute with Alicia or Chanel or Susan or myself. And so we're all here to help you. And our little firm just keeps growing. And so I'm in talks with other lawyers to join us as well, and all across the country. Okay, let's see what we've got. So we've got Deshang now that I need to search for. You guys, this is actually way more difficult than I thought. Okay, Deshang, I'm assuming it's your previous one. So let's see here. Okay, I've received a procedural fairness letter. I'm going to ring this one right here, right now. That's book consult territory. Okay, received a PFL June 20th, and then till now I haven't been received any further email from IRCC. It's been more than a year. How much time they will take more? Is there any idea? Request the NATIP. Obtain the GCMS notes and see if there's been anything that's happened. One thing that I do, Deshang, is clients retain me in these situations to make this request, to forensically evaluate their whole EAPR. And I have a way of going back and looking at all of the information that you submitted. If you didn't keep a copy, which I hope you do, we talk about that in my Express Entry course, how to access, all of your EAPR information within if you're trying to go back, because you need to understand what you put in there that triggered the request. And then with any procedural fairness letter, to have things stalled out since June, almost, closing in on 2 years, that's an exceptionally long period of time. But you need to do a GCMS to get that. And clients hire me to go through forensically, to kind of put my old immigration officer hat on and look at it through the lens of an officer and determine exactly what the issue is. And then in many cases, we provide another unsolicited update to try to deal with all of the issues that I find. And trust me, I find them. And that's how we deal with it. And so Deshang, I recommend, I'll ring the buzzer there, recommend you slide over here and book a consult with one of our lawyers. Any of our lawyers are well positioned to assist you. So you can take a look at that. Okay, I think we've got that taken care of. The chats are actually keeping me busy here. Let's see what we have next. Okay, Mamadou says, do you think that the CEC draws will restart in the first quarter? I have a 547 score, but my work permit expires in May. That's an exceptionally high score, Mamadou. Ultimately, it's hard to say if they're going to have another draw before the end of March. I think it's unlikely. I really do. Q1, January, February, March. Yeah, it's going to be really tough, I think. But understand, one of the things that we're hoping for, one of the first things that we included in our first submission was a request to reinstitute the 18-month post-grad work permit, that special measure to allow individuals to apply for another post-grad work permit when the regulations do not allow for it. So that's one of the things that we've been advocating for. And if that happens, then, and I have to suspect that we're going to see something soon, and watch for those annual levels plans. I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat Canada Visa out if they do announce it. I'll sure try, but watch them and watch the CIC news. They're really good. I have to give them props, and I always do. They do a great job of getting news out to everybody. And so watch that. They have a different model than I do. I'm much more high touch. They leverage off of people, and they have a different practice model. But for me, it's all about one-to-one and truly caring about the applicant. And that's what drives our firm. Okay, let's see what we have next here. Okay, Arjun says, living in Japan for 7 years. Wow, on a work permit. I'm going to apply the study permit Canada. Can I get extra plus points because applying from a highest approval rate country? Absolutely. It's a high rate for sure. From Japan, what is it, like 97, 98 or something? Maybe it's even 99% approval rates. LJ has all those with his firm and the material that they've released out there. But no, my friend, there's no there's no extra bonus points from applying from those countries. At the end of the day, they're as far as permanent residence, there's no bonus points. When it comes to the country, you've seen there's a high approval rate, and so that's that puts you in decent stead. Now, lots of those are Japanese citizens that are applying too, and you do have temporary status there, which I think ultimately, if you've been there for a long time, that sometimes can be one of the negative factors that they put on the on the scale. But no, there's no doubt that Japan is a high approval rate. Absolutely. Okay, Imran's back. Assume criminality, etc., are done for work permit approval, and so wouldn't take help move to file faster for e-processing, or are there deeper checks done? Understand that they have the ability, depending upon the country that you come from. I've seen it. I had 2 consults yesterday. I think one was Iran, and the other was maybe, I can't remember, Pakistan maybe. And both of them have stalled out because of security checks, which are different than, the criminality side of things, checking police certificates, making sure you've actually provided the right ones and that they're the right form. It's amazing to me how many people miss things when they're requesting police certificates and get their express entry application returned. It's so common. It ranks up there so high. One of the things that we spend a lot of time covering in the course. And for those who are joining a little bit later, I just want to remind everybody, on Tuesday, February the 14th is Valentine's Day. That's the evening with my wife, and that is something I guard jealously. But the 15th through the 19th, which is the Saturday, I'm pushing it to Saturday morning. That's when I do the masterclass, but you can subscribe right now and get access to all of the course material. And then join me live every evening from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time in this course. So come check it out, and you can watch the videos and learn all about everything that we have in here. We've kind of refreshed our landing page a little bit. And my favorite part of this whole page is the very end right here. Oh, we got to put them on here. All of my past comments slipped away, but you can see the whole structure of the course here. There's a whole bunch more detail just to help people understand exactly what they're getting. And it looks like Igor didn't put all of those past people that had booked. So head over there and subscribe and join me. And even though you're not quite there yet, it's so much better to understand the process, to come take the course, learn all about the problems, the pitfalls, where things fall off the rails for people, so that you can prepare now, so that there are no delays when you finally get that ITA when they relaunch it. Okay. All right. Next question. I'm on a work permit and applied, I think it's spousal open work permit, I think is what you've got there. Plus kids study permit on April 21st and visitor visa for both in new portal on October 21st. Should have wait for result to come, or should withdraw and file application again? This one I have to hit the bell because you've got a lot of moving parts here. One of the things that we're seeing when it comes to a lot of these, and I don't know which country you're applying from, whether it's India or wherever. I can't tell with just your initials there, but the reality is the whole processing of visitor visas and even these types of work permits, depending on the country, we're seeing a lot of refusals. And when the whole family is coming and you're bringing the kids, it's a factor that they look at. Now, ultimately, depending upon, where you're at, the country makes a huge difference, like I said, and whether or not you'll be successful. In terms of timing, I know it's just crazy. Like April and then October, you submitted it. And I don't think there's an advantage to resubmitting again a third time. I just don't. I think at this stage, if you look at the processing, you have to put this into context. Let's take a look at the processing and see if they've updated this. And what we're going to go with is the work permit, because that's the one that's driving the ship. And all you have to do here is click on processing times IRCC. And then when you open this up, let's say it's India, for example. And I don't know if that's the case for you, but let's go visitor, study, work. And then we'll go here, work permit from outside Canada. And then we'll choose the country, and we'll just jump down here to India. There we go. And then we'll check processing times. So you can see this 53 weeks. So you can do the math. That's where they're sitting right now processing these work permits, 53 weeks. And you can see it was last updated literally yesterday. And so this is fairly accurate to where they're at. And you guys can do the math. I don't know, what's 53 divided by 4? Like, it's longer than how long you've had your application in the queue. So I recommend you just hang tight, stay tight, wait, and you're in that mode. Okay, Sukhdeep says, please answer again. I have master equivalent from Wes. Can I do another ECA only for bachelors from ICUS and use only bachelor ECA for OMP French stream to reduce the score to 467? Is it legal to do so without hiding masters? There's nothing illegal about that. There's nothing. But understand, the questions that are asked of you are, what are your education? Like, what is your education? So as far as going and only getting an ECA for the lower one, like, there's a lot of people that have master's degrees that don't equate to a master's in Canada. As far as trying to conceal an existing score just to push yourself down to that 467 level for the OINP, you know, anytime someone is not providing truthful, fulsome answers, I have huge issues with it. So I wouldn't recommend that you do that. I wouldn't, because at the end of the day, there's no guarantee, even as you've seen from the previous individual. Let's see if we have here, who did we refer to? Reshmi. Oh, no, it wasn't Reshmi. Who was it? It was this individual right here. She was in 464 range with French, right? But she didn't get drawn. And so there's no guarantee that even if you do push yourself down to that level, that you're going to receive a notification of interest from the province of Ontario. So I would never advise anyone to do that. Is it illegal? Like, is it legal to do so without hiding the master? I would never advise you to do that, but there's no rule other than if the question is asked and you're not answering properly what you have. And like, I know the question that you're asking, and the short answer is I would never do that. And I would never advise you to do that. Even if it, you know, there was some technical ground where you could answer in a way that didn't appear to be misrep, I'd never do that, because ultimately that becomes a part of the record and all of the information is shared with immigration. And then what do you do if you're drawn under a CEC, right? And then you're applying for express entry. And, you know, there's nothing saying that immigration can't go and check a PNP record. Like, there's cross sharing with them, let alone with the other member countries, Australia, the US, UK, and New Zealand. So I would just never, ever advise you to do that, regardless of, you know, of how those draws are coming through. Tanya says, hey, federal skilled worker, Jan 21st, on calling IRCC. I got to know that my file's in NDVO. They mailed me NDVO contact number. Also, should I call NDVO to know the status? Pursue every option that's available to you. Okay? Pursue everyone. Because at this stage, with just how horrible they've been with communicating, pursue every option that's available to you. Okay. Shaw says, TRPR, International Grad Stream. If primary applicant stays in Canada, can dependents visit home country? Absolutely. It's you as the primary applicant that absolutely needs to be in Canada at the time in which your application is approved. So AOR September, meds passed, no ADR, background check ongoing. Yeah, Shaw. As long as you remain, dependents can go. That's not a problem. But you as the primary applicant need to be in Canada at the time in which your application is approved. Okay. Rashid says, IRCC is asking for medical of my non-accompanying son back in Pakistan, whereas the panel physician in Pakistan are asking me for IME number, how to get IME. Okay, so when if they're asking for a medical of your non-accompanying son, the international medical, you need to, if they're refusing to do it and IRCC has not given you your immigration medical number, then you need to reach back out to immigration and confirm what it is. Now, ultimately, when you go into your file, you can't always see from the information that's available what that might be. And obviously the sometimes physicians are such they could easily do an upfront medical. They've got your UCI, they've got your file number, right? And so you can try those. You can try the E number and your UCI, for you personally. But for a non-accompanying, most panel physicians will do an upfront medical for them. So I would reach out to, this is a panel physician issue. Maybe look to another panel physician as well, but reach out to IRCC and with a web form immediately and notify them of the problem. Tell them that the panel physician won't do the medical for your non-accompanying son unless there's an IME number. Can you please provide it? That's what you have to do. And if you're in Canada, call the call center as well. This is one of the challenges right now we're dealing with. Okay. Priyanka says, filed for tier to PR, living in Quebec. Okay. I just went through the process of reviewing with another client an ADR that they received even when they weren't living in Quebec, but they worked there before. And the headquarters of the company they're working for is in Montreal, but they're working for the office in Toronto. And they got an ADR to provide a settlement plan. And so, okay, showed intention to move. Now I have a job, hesitant to move. Received AOR. Others have received PR in Quebec. What to do? My friend, if they received PR when they're in Quebec, then there was something not properly disclosed to immigration, or they had very, very clear evidence to show that they were moving. If you've got a job offer and you've got a job and hesitant to move, well, that shows that you have an intention to reside in Quebec that could absolutely result in a refusal of the application. And so some people, like for example, some of the case law, and in I guess it was October of 2019, I went to the Acadie conference, invited by David Chalk. I flew to Montreal to speak at the Quebec Immigration Lawyer Association's conference to talk about this issue. And yes, there's all kinds of creative ways that people can try to demonstrate that they have intention to alive outside of the province of Quebec, but it's really, really difficult. It's really difficult to prove and show if you are working and you're very, very well settled in Quebec. And so you can book a consult, Priyanka. And in all honesty, I recommend that you consider doing that. We can talk through this, but really, really hard. Ultimately, how far along is the TR to PR pathway? They will provide you with an ADR if they see that you are currently living in Quebec. What did you put in your application form? There's a whole host of things that we would need to address. Okay. All right. So Winston says, wow, we're into overtime here, guys. Let me just check. I think I might have something that I'm missing. Just bear with me. Oh, I turned that off. Just bear with me. I have to check. I want to get through. So hold off on posting any more supers here, because I don't want to leave anyone without getting to their question. But at the same time, there it is. I have, scheduled just an hour for these. So just bear with me. How much time do I have? Okay, I've got a little bit of time here. I knew I left a little bit of space. Okay, let me close this out. Okay, I'm planning to apply for a visitor visa for my parents who are in India. Hey, we're doing that already for Chaitanya. Whether booking flight tickets in advance is mandatory for the application. Thanks, really appreciate your good work. No, it is not. One of the reasons that we don't feel booking flights in advance is because if they refuse it, then you're on the hook for the flights. So there's nothing added by booking the flights as far as I'm concerned. I never advise my clients to do that until they actually have the approval in hand. It's just potential for wasted money. Okay, was waiting since 2 years to reunite with my spouse and kids. I know that it just breaks my heart when I hear people talking about this. Also, my work permit's expiring June. Can my dependence visa get processed considering my, okay. And that's That's a huge, huge issue. Okay. Because at the time in which the application is submitted, they're going to look to see how much time is left on your work permit. And they can only issue it until June of 2022. And so personally, I think it's going to be a challenge for you to get that approved. Remember, you've looked at the processing times, so you're going to definitely want to try to find a way to extend that work status. Absolutely, in whatever way you can. Stay tuned. Trust me, you guys, I will let you guys know the moment I hear anything, and I will try to beat CIC News. We'll see. Vishvesh says, hey, Mark, awesome to see you. I just saw a tweet from IRCC about new system to track PR status. Yes. Can you brief us with that? I will do a video specifically on that, but it's another way that they're trying to provide better communication. It's interesting, you guys. The last discussion, the last comment I made to Minister Fraser when I talked to him is I said, look, we understand that processing is really tough, but people don't know. How are they supposed to plan their lives out? You know, and if they just know that it's going to take 2 years to submit their application, then they're not, you know, then at least they can govern their affairs accordingly. So please, please do something to help people to better understand where they're actually at in the queue meaningfully, not that goofy little tracker bar that was put into Express Entry a few years back that wasn't even linked to the actual status advancement within Express Entry. You guys remember that thing? Some of you may still have it, where it was just basically 6 months and the bar would just move, you know, up until it hit 6 months, and then it would say 100%, and then it would say, oh, it's taking longer, right? But something meaningful. And that's exactly what IRCC did. They created some new systems for spouses to be able to link their accounts and see where they're at. And obviously they're trying to do everything they can to communicate with people. So, all right. So I did not get to many people, but I want to thank you for your you guys are like family to me. I'll be honest. You know, I've been doing this for so many years, and some of you have been following for years and years. And I want to close by just saying thank you to all of you who extended, you know, just the kindest wishes. And I know I'm not going to be able to get to all of you, but I really, really appreciate these thoughts. It's, it just means a lot to know that people are appreciative of what I'm trying to do. So I apologize for not being able to get to everybody, but yeah, my heart is somewhat hurting right now. And, but I want to really, really appreciate everybody for their very, very kind thoughts and condolences and things like that. So I really appreciate that. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here. I want to remind everyone before we check out that to head over here and make sure that even if you're just interested and you just want to learn more, Alicia and I right here, Alberta's new immigration tech pathway, I'm going to share insight on some ways that it can be used by employers and why it's so good for postgrad work permit holders working in the tech industry. Basically, just share some insight that I received from the acting director, from himself, Joshua Maldonado, that I had a discussion with just, when was it? Earlier, maybe it was on Monday, and with the Minister of Employment and Immigration in our CBA section. So all of that's going to be added into this. So make sure you head over here, no matter where you're watching it, click on the reminder, and then you'll get notified when we go live. But it's going to be, it's going to be really, really good. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. And say a little prayer for Jessie, who lost her husband. All right. Take care, everyone.